Reach your hands in the air. You feel like me. You see the pride of death. It said that every revolutionary act is an act of love. And this is an act of love. All power to the people. I said the P is the power, the A for action, the NT, because now it's time to get it done. See, the H is for heart and the E for effect. The all from the Janet, the N for respect. You are my Panther. You are my Panther. What I got soul. What I got love. What I got pride. What I want to be free. Reach your hands in the air. You feel like me. You are my Panther. You are my Panther. What I got soul. What I got love. What I got pride. What I want to be free. Reach your hands in the air. You feel like me. You see the pride of heaven. As he glows in splendid grace, stop letting African place the way of expression is great. And you see the pride that she nurtures so young all on. The seed must grow regardless, but the back is flat and stone. Can't you see the pride with the unified one? The flower blooms, brilliance. And that shines the way outshines like the sun, shines out like the sun, shines bright like the sun, brings light like the sun. P is the power, the A for action, the N because now it's time to get it done. See, the H is for heart and the E for effect. The O for Janet, the N for respect. Who am I? Who am I? What I got soul. What I got love. What I got pride. What I want to be. Reach your hands in the air. You feel like me. Who am I? Who am I? What I got soul. What I got love. What I got pride. What I want to be. Reach your hands in the air. You feel like me. Songs dedicated to all those who live and die for the struggle. Panthers, children of Panthers, all those strive for free minds, free souls, free bodies, free love, love, love. Love is the anchor to the revolution.
Hey, all power to the people. I hope everybody's doing good. Before we start, hey, Secretary General, you got some announcements to make?
Yes, I do. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we could hear you.
All power to the people.
Okay, so we will be doing cleanup this coming Monday at the Hasan Community Center. We have our school supply giveaway on August 27th. The Hasan Shakur assassination and barbecue will be on August 31st. I have a little excerpt about what is Black August. Black August is honored every year to commemorate the fallen freedom fighters of the Black Liberation Movement, to call for the release of political prisoners in the United States, to condemn the oppressive conditions of U.S. prisons, and to emphasize the continued importance of the Black liberation struggle. Observers of Black August commit to higher levels of discipline throughout the month. This can include fasting from food and drink, frequent physical exercise, and political study, and engagement in political struggle. In short, the principles of Black August are study, fast, train, fight. That is all the announcements I have for today.
All power to the people. Thank you, Secretary. Hey, welcome to Hasan Shakur Political Education course. This is week 6. Each week, students will be assigned reading and videos to study and will convene once a week to discuss the material, interpret and break down the core concept, questions, and answers, and to prepare for next week's study materials. Remember that taking notes can be really beneficial, even audio ones, and don't be afraid to ask for help. We are all in this together. Each week, you are encouraged to bring the following: quotes from the material, questions you have, your interpretation of the material, core concept, revolutionary spirit. Comrades, our studies this week will focus on Huey P. Newton's 1968 interview from jail and a basic discussion on historical dialectical materialism and revolutionary intercommunalism. No, those are big words right there. But we're gonna be good. We're gonna guide you through this. This first this video that we're gonna watch is going to be Huey P. Newton's interview. I think it's about 6 minutes long. After the 6 minutes, I'll be right back.
The long-awaited decision in the Huey Newton murder trial, which has drawn worldwide attention, is now very near. The jury of 7 women and 5 men are deliberating the fate of the Black Panther leader on the 8th floor of that building. It is their job to decide whether he is guilty of killing Oakland policeman John Fry and wounding Officer Herbert Haynes in a pre-dawn shootout last October 28th. 2 floors above the jury in his cell, Huey Newton, who has made almost no show of emotion during the 8 weeks of trial, calmly awaits the decision of the jury. I talked to Newton in the jail.
As far as the proceedings thus far, that the courts have only reflected the racist attitude of the general power structure, that I haven't received a fair trial, that I should not have been indicted in the first place. I was indicted by a blue ribbon grand jury, a middle-class white grand jury that did not represent a cross-section of the community. And
you say you don't feel you've had a fair trial?
No.
Why?
Number one, the judge has been very racist throughout the proceeding, very pro-prosecution, that I don't feel that I should have been tried at all. And if I had been tried, if there was an inkling of reason to try me, I should not have been tried for first-degree murder. That if the judge had not been a racist, that he would have amended the charges to a manslaughter, perhaps. The very fact that he didn't dismiss the whole charge reflects his racism.
Some of your supporters have said that the trial, that you are a political
prisoner that are oppressing people of color all over the world, and on a local level, the police, fascist police, are suppressing, repressing the white revolutionaries as well as the blacks who speak of and who are attempting to attain liberation. So I am not standing for violence, but I do stand for self-defense.
Back to the trial for one moment. You could just keep on talking. What about your future? You're on the street next week.
I'll continue to organize the Black community in a political fashion. I will help in the campaign of Eldridge Cleaver for president, my own campaign for 7th congressional district. And I think this will be a large job because it's going to be done from a grassroots level, from door to door in the community. It will consider the people on 7th Street who stand on the corners, who have lost all faith in this society. And matter of fact, all other will attempt to rehabilitate them, to show them that there is possibly some gains in political action. And if it's sincere, and if the Black people have exclusive control of it within their community. So in my campaign.
You say, you got enough, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Like that's a clip of Huey P. Newton 1968 from jail, and you can listen to everything he's saying in there, and it still holds true today. The same he said, the court represent the power structure, which is not the masses. It's the same thing that we deal with today. The courts don't represent the people. The people are not the one that make the decisions in the courts. But it's good to hear them in their own voice, to hear Huey P. Newton, the founder of our party, in his own voice, what they stood for, what they believe. And that was coming, he was in jail right there. So like all of that should let you know this is not a joke. What we're doing here is not a joke. Actually working for the people is the most courageous thing you can do, most revolutionary thing you could do. And those in power, the power structure will do anything they can to try to shut you up. We're going into historic dialectical materialism. If you don't know what it is, it's okay. We're about to go through it. It's going to explain to you exactly what it is. Pantherism is based on revolutionary science of dialectic materialism. The first developed by Karl Marx and further developed by Vladimir Lenin, Mao Zedong, and others, including Huey P. Newton, the co-founder of the original Black Panther Party in 1966. When applied to the study of human social evolution, it is called historical dialectic materialism. It stands opposed to metaphysical idealism, which has been the dominant way people have thought and tried to explain the world since ancient times. All religions are based on this sort of thinking, which is metaphysical idealism. That's what all religions are based on, this sort of thinking. Taken to its logical conclusion, you will believe nothing exists outside your own brain, and everything is an illusion. And they will lock you up as hopelessly insane. Materialism, on the other hand, asserts that reality really does exist, independent of how we think about it. And it existed before there were any humans to think about it. Everything exists as matter and energy. It's matter in motion. Everything is in motion, and everything is changing all the time. I don't know. Let me read that again. Materialism, on the other hand, asserts that reality really does exist, independent of how we think about it. Like, it is what it is. Reality exists no matter what you think. Whether you think it doesn't exist, you think gravity doesn't exist. Whether you think it doesn't exist or not, gravity's still there. And if you fall out the window, it's going to be there to tell you, to show you that it's real. And it existed before there were any humans to think about it. Gravity was here before humans could think about it, before you was born. Everything exists as matter and energy. It's matter in motion. Everything is in motion, and everything is changing all the time. Dialectics is the study of matter in motion and asserts everything exists as a unity of opposites that are in contradiction and struggle, with things transforming into opposites when the primary aspect is overcome by secondary aspect. We'll get deeper into that, but right now it's important to see that this way of thinking is revolutionary and will overthrow the outmoded and incorrect view that has dominated people's thinking in the past. Karl Marx developed the scientific method of analysis, which came to be called dialectical materialism by those who came after him. As an analytical tool, DM provides a method of understanding the laws of material existence and for changing material conditions by acting within these laws. In other words, our material condition, it's real. It actually exists. What do I mean by our material conditions? That the majority of the people are having a hard time paying rent, are having a hard time buying groceries. These are not figments of their imagination. These are real things, that their jobs are not paying them enough for them to be able to survive. This is not wishful thinking. They're not imagining these things. It's real. Police brutality. The police don't actually work for you. They're here to police you. They're here to protect property. You're not imagining none of these things. That is what they're actually there to do. Because like if you go with what the state tells you the police are there to do, to protect and serve the community, you see the contradiction. You see that when you live in these communities that we live in, that they're lumping, that they're poor, the people on the bottom of the society, the people that's living paycheck to paycheck, which is most of the people in America. When you live in those communities, you see the police don't function the way how the state or the media or celebrities or whatever, politicians tell you the police is supposed to function. Even the educational system, you see those things are different from what they say. That's the material condition, the thing that we're really going through in the real world. Historical materialism is the application of DM, dialectic materialism, to the study and understanding of social development and history. I want to stay here for a little bit. I want us to understand what they're saying. Karl Marx developed the scientific method of analysis, which came to be called dialectic materialism by those who came after him. As an analytical tool, DM provides methods. Dialectic materialism provides methods for you to understand these laws that we live by. It gives you a way for you to understand them. How do you measure it? How do you measure it? Okay, so we say that they cook in the numbers when they come to unemployment. So you say those are not the real numbers. So how are they cooking the numbers when they come to unemployment? They don't count people that's locked up. That's a large segment of people that they don't count. Using dialectic materialism, you can go in there and study the numbers, study the data, and be able to see all these different things. But if you don't use it, if you don't study it, if you don't use those methods, you're not going to understand how they're cooking the books, how they're putting their finger on the thumbnail, because then they'll tell you unemployment is only 4%. When you're looking outside and you see all those homeless people on every block, on every corner, like it doesn't make sense. It's contradiction. It doesn't add up. So if you're able to use a scientific method, you understand they don't count people after they stop looking after a couple of weeks, couple of months. They don't count them no more. They don't count people that have 2-3 jobs. They don't like the way in which I'm gonna use it again. The way in which they finger fuck the books, the way in which they cook the books, they don't add everything that they're supposed to add. And then when they come out with their numbers, we sitting here believing that their numbers are accurate. But like I said, if you use the scientific approach, you get to an answer that's different from what they're telling you. Marx understood that the brain, the very medium of our thoughts and ideas, is itself a material construct. It grows and develops with and as a result of material conditions without which it would cease to be and could not generate thoughts. Purge of metaphysical influences, dialectics regards nature as a connected and unified whole, as a combination of organically bound phenomena that are interdependent and affect each other's development. Therefore, no activity in nature can be understood if it's isolated from, I don't see the bottom part. Hey, Secretary, do you see the bottom part? If it's isolated from
surrounding phenomena.
Thank you.
If it's
surrounding phenomena.
What is it? What was it again?
Surrounding phenomena.
No, not one person say it.
Go ahead, Stone Captain.
Surrounding phenomena.
Oh, surrounding phenomena. No activity in nature can be understood if it is isolated from surrounding phenomena. So that's what I'm talking about. When they're doing the numbers about unemployment, the surrounding phenomena is everybody that's locked up, everybody that they put into this concentration camps, because that's what jails are. That's what jails are, and that's what they do with the people. That's what society do with people they don't have jobs for. There's not enough jobs for everybody. What are you going to do with the rest of the people that are all on the streets? You got to find somewhere to put them, and they put them in prisons. They put them in jails, but they don't count those numbers. Metaphysical.
And Captain, if I can interject 1 second on this point you was making, this is Chairman Shaka Zulu. I think it's also important to realize that from a theoretical point of view, the same way that a person go into prison with a criminal mentality, when he encounter ideas that transform his or her thinking, they become revolutionary. So you can see how the positive and the negative influence each other. And whenever the negative take over the positive, that's where you see a lot of criminality in our community. That's where you see a lot of sellouts in our community. That's where you see a lot of Black politicians working with corporate interests, because the dominant phenomenon in our community is class collaboration. Whereas 30, 50 years ago, it was class solidarity. It was class war against the ruling perfume circles that oppressed and exploited our people. So you can see at any given stage of the struggle, the counter-revolution can overcome the revolution, and vice versa. All power to the people.
All power to the people. Metaphysics teaches that nature exists in an absolute and unchanging state. The dialectical method teaches that nature remains in a state of constant change, development, and renewal. This can be seen through scientific and even general studies of nature and natural processes. Nothing remains the same. The philosophers have only interpreted the word in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. I hope there's nothing under there because I don't see nothing under there. Hitherto, men have constantly made up for themselves false conceptions about themselves, about what they are and what they ought to be. They have arranged their relationship according to their ideas of God, of normal man, etc. The phantoms of their brains have gone out of their hands. They, the creators, have bowed down before their creations. Close quote. One has to leave philosophy aside. One has to leap out of it and devote oneself like the ordinary man to the study of actuality, for which there exists also an enormous amount of literary material, unknown, of course, to the philosophers. The question whether objective truth can be attributed to human thinking is not a question of theory, but is a practical question. Man must prove the truth, i.e. the reality and power. The decidedness of this thinking in practice, the dispute over the reality or non-reality of thinking, which is isolated from practice, is a purely scholastic one. Oh, scholastic
one second, Captain. Who can pronounce that word? It looks like a German word.
It's a German word.
Yeah, it's German.
I don't know if anybody here German.
Well, we got some people that can pronounce it.
What is it?
I speak German. I speak German. What word is it?
It's right there. D-I-E-S-S-E-I-T-I-G-K-E-I-T.
Okay, that would be, wait a minute, let me see if I get it big. Yeah, here it is. Okay. That would be Gezeigkeit, which means something about the, I guess the time, the spirit of the time, or something like that. The spirit of the time, I think. Anyways, I'm not sure what it means, but that
we'll go over to the spirit of the time. We'll go with it. There you go. It's a scholastic question. We'll go with that one.
All power to the people.
All power.
All power to the people.
But dialectic doesn't merely see things in a state of motion where there is only increase or decrease in quantity without fundamental changes in quality. This means that phenomena moves and develops not in straight lines, but in spirals. These qualitative and overlapping changes are seen as leaps. An example of change from quantity to quality can be seen in how all matter changes in quality, according to the quantity of temperature, from gas to liquid to solid. Without proper analysis of material conditions and their internal and external contradiction, it is impossible to develop a proper understanding of them. Like I said, like the unemployment that I said, like if you don't really do the science behind it, if you don't look at it and you do the math for yourself, it's hard to really understand how they come up with the numbers. Because when you look outside and you see all these homeless people all around the country, and they're telling you only 4% of the people are unemployed, like it makes no sense at all. But if you understand how they come up with the numbers, how they cook the books, how they fix the book, how they put their thumb on the scale, if you understand all of that, which is dialectic, which is scientific, then you understand why the numbers don't make sense and why you shouldn't listen to these people when they tell you unemployment is only 4%, or Joe Biden goes on TV and tell you this is the best economy ever, when people are suffering and people are on the streets and you're seeing people sleep everywhere. I know I'm not the only one seeing them. I know if I could see them, you people see them too.
Quickly, the best economy, whenever they talk about best economy, that means it's good for Wall Street. Anything good for Wall Street is always bad for the people.
And if you
all
don't
power
use
to the people,
all power
to the people.
And if you don't use dialectic materialism, you understand we are all not Wall Street. If you don't understand the science, you understand what's good for them is not good for you. What's good for them is them jiking up the prices on houses so that normal residents can't buy houses, but they have access to the houses. They can buy up all the houses and people are going homeless. So really, who is the economy working for? In order to really know an objective, we must embrace, study all its sides, all connections and mediations. We never achieve this completely, but the demand for all-sidedness is a safeguard against mistakes and rigidity. Like you have to know both sides. You have to understand both sides of the story for you to be able to offer an analysis. It's really that basic. Revolutionary Intercommunalism, U.P. Newton at Boston College, 1970. Hey, Chairman, you want to read this real quick, Chairman?
All power to the people. Quote, now I will give you roughly some characteristics that any people who call themselves a nation should have. These are economic independence, cultural determination, control of the political institutions, territorial integrity, and safety. In 1966, we called our party a Black Nationalist Party. We called ourselves Black Nationalists because we thought that nationhood was the answer. Shortly after that, we decided that what was really needed was revolutionary nationalism. That is nationalism plus socialism. After analyzing conditions a little more, we found that it was impractical and even contradictory. Therefore, we went to a higher level of consciousness.
Hey, this is Dr. U.P. Newton speaking.
Quote, we saw that in order to be free, we had to crush the ruler's circle, and therefore we had to unite with the peoples of the world. So we called ourselves internationalists. We sought solidarity with the peoples of the world. We sought solidarity with what we thought were the nations of the world. But then what happened, brothers, sisters, comrades, and we probably got some enemies up here. We found that just because everything is in a constant state of transformation, because of the development of technology, because of the development of the mass media, because of the firepower of the imperialists, and because of the fact that the United States is no longer a nation, but an empire, nations could not exist, for they did not have the criteria for nationhood. Their self-determination, economic determination, and cultural determination has been transformed by the imperialists and the ruling circle. They were no longer nations. We found that in order to be internationalists, we had to also be nationalists, or at least acknowledge nationhood. Internationalism, if I understand the word, means the interrelationship among a group of nations. But since no nations exist, and since the United States is in fact an empire, it is impossible for us to be internationalists. These transformations and phenomena require us to call ourselves intercommunalists because nations have been transformed into communities of the world.
Hey, pause for a second. Hey, Chairman, so where did they start from so far? Where did it start from? Should I go back or do you remember?
Well, no, you're pretty good right here.
No. Let me go back. So where you started from, right? Let me see. Where did I start?
They started as
Black there.
So where they started as?
Right here. Now I will give you roughly.
No, right here. In 1966, we called ourselves a party of Black Nationalist Party. Black Nationalist Party. You heard me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Then they changed that to revolutionary nationalism, right?
Yes.
And then they moved on from revolutionary nationalism to what?
Internationalist.
This is the last slide that you read?
Yes.
Yeah, but I just wanted to point that out, but because this is how growing happens when you're studying. When you're studying both-sidedness and you're looking at all the sides and you're willing to take in information and let the information guide you, let the information be your moral compass, you will change. You will your understanding, your intellect, your knowledge will grow. And if you're sincere in your in seeking knowledge, you will change. You have no choice but to change, because with information, things change. What you know changes. And that's what UP Newman is saying in 1964, 65, 66, 68, 70s. They went through this. They already did the math. So we don't need to redo the wheel now. We don't need to go through these processes that they've already went through. I'm on the next slide, Chairman.
Well, you know better, you do better.
All power.
There you go. So I'm gonna read the last line and we'll go on to the next one.
No, is this the next one? I thought I did the next one. Their self-determination.
All right, so I'll start from the top. Their self-determination, economic determination, and cultural determination has been transformed by the imperialists and the ruling circle. They were no longer nations. We found that in order to be internationalists, we had to also be nationalists, or at least acknowledge nationhood. Internationalism, if I understand the word, means the interrelationship among a group of nations. But since no nations exist, and since the United States is in fact an empire, it is impossible for us to be internationalists. These transformations and phenomena require us to call ourselves intercommunalists, because nations has been transformed into communities of the world.
They all power.
And let me just say this one part that I think it's important that comrades look at what Huey said here. He's talking about reactionary colonial powers controlling the resources of newly emerging so-called nations out of colonialism. And these nations have a Black face, an Asian face, a white face, or a Latino face and power, but they're working on behalf of imperialism, because the gold, the diamond, the cobalts, the lithium, all of that stuff go back to the imperial core, to the European centers of power. And so Black countries, Latin American countries, or Caribbean countries are really what Frantz Fanon called flag independence. And so Huey is right on the money by saying that these countries are nothing but big basket of exploitation, and the West go in and pick, like they go into an agricultural field and said, I want the diamonds, I want the gold, I want the bauxite. And so this is what is happening right now. And intercommunalism is a way of defining.
No. Hey, yo, don't go too far yet. Don't go too far.
Okay, yeah, I'll leave it there. All power to the people.
Hey, yo, but before you say the flag statement, before you say what Fanon said about the flag, I was just about to say they all have flags. All this places around the country, all this land mass around the country, around the world, the globe, have these flags, and they identify themselves by their nationhood. Forgetting that everything is globalized, that our world is globalized, meaning the oligarchs who control America from over here are the same one that's controlling South Africa, that's controlling Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, all these different countries around in Africa, and even in the Caribbean. So you meet somebody from the Caribbean, they tell you like, nah, I'm not African. I'm from this island. This is my flag. And they hold that flag up, and they see themselves as belonging to that nation when there is no nation. There's no nation for you to belong to, because everything, all the institutions there are under the control of the oligarchs, all of the imperialists. So the people really not in control of their culture. You ready? You got it, Chairman? You there, Chairman? Till he come back. I got it. The Black Panther Party now disclaims internationalism and supports intercommunalism. Marx and Lenin.
I apologize for that. I went out by mistake.
You good. You can start for the top. Go ahead.
The Black Panther Party now disclaims internationalism and supports intercommunalism. Marx and Lenin felt, with the information they had, that when the non-state finally came to be a reality, it would be caused or ushered in by the people and by communism. A strange thing happened. The ruling reactionary circles, through the consequence of being imperialists transformed the world into what we call reactionary intercommunalism. They laid siege upon all the communities of the world, dominate the institutions to such an extent that the people were not served by the institutions in their own land. The Black Panther Party would like to reverse that trend and lead the people of the world into the age of revolutionary intercommunalism. This would be the time when the people seize the means of production and distribute the wealth and technology in an egalitarian way to the many communities of the world. We see very little difference in what happens to a community here in North America and what happens to a community in Vietnam. We see very little difference in what happens even culturally to a Chinese community in San Francisco and a Chinese community in Hong Kong. We see very little difference in what happens to a Black community in Harlem and a Black community in South America and a Black community in Angola and one in Mozambique. We see very little difference. So what has actually happened is that the non-state has already been accomplished, but it is reactionary. A community, by way of definition, is a comprehensive collection of institutions that serve the people who live there. It differs from a nation because a community evolves around a greater structure that we usually call the state. And the state has certain control over the community. If the administration represent the people, or if the administration happens to be the people's commissar. It is not so at this time. So there's still something to be done. I mentioned earlier the quote, negation of the negation. I mentioned earlier the necessity for the redistribution of wealth. We think that is very important to note that as things are in the world today, socialism in the United States will never exist. Why? It will not exist because it cannot exist. It cannot at this time exist any place in the world. Socialism will require a socialist state. And if a state does not exist, how could socialism exist?
Oh, power. And I want y'all to remember this part right here where he said, I mentioned earlier the necessity for the redistribution of wealth. Yeah, we're going to come back to that later on after we read the next couple of slides. I need you to keep that in your mind.
So, how do we define certain progressive countries, such as the People's Republic of China? How do we describe certain progressive countries or communities, as we call them, as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea? How do we define certain communities such as North Vietnam and the provisional government in the South? How do we explain these communities if in fact they too cannot claim nationhood? We say this. We say they represent the people's liberated territory. They represent a community liberated, but that community is not sufficient. It is not satisfied, just as the National Liberation Front is not satisfied with the liberated territory in the South. It is only the groundwork and preparation for the liberation of the world, seizing the wealth from the ruling circle, equal distribution and proportional representation in an intercommunal framework. This is what the Black Panther Party would like to achieve with the help of the power of the people, because without the people, nothing can be achieved. I stated that in the United States, socialism will never exist. In order for a revolution to occur in the United States, you will have to have a redistribution of wealth, not on a national or on an international, but on an intercommunal level. Because how can we say that we have accomplished revolution if we redistribute the wealth just to the people here in North America, when the ruler circle itself is guilty of trespass Debonitas aspartates.
We're gonna go with that.
I guess that means transgression against the people.
All power.
But who knows French?
All power to the people. That is, they have taken away the goods of the people of the world, transported to America and used them as their very own. In 1917, when the revolution occurred, there could be a redistribution of wealth on a national level because nations existed. Now, if you talk in terms of planning an economy on a worldwide level, on an intercommunal level, you are saying something important, that the people have been ripped off, very much like the country being ripped off. In order to plan a real intercommunal economy, we will have to acknowledge how the world is hooked up. We will also have to acknowledge that nations have not existed for some time. Some people will argue that nations still exist because of the cultural differences. Catch that, cultural differences.
Got it.
By way of definition, just for practical argument, culture is a collection of learned patterns of behavior. Here in the United States, Black people, Africans were raped from the mother country. And consequently, we have literally lost most of our African values. Perhaps we still hold on to some surviving Africanisms, but by and large, you can see the transformation, which was achieved by time and the highly technological society whose tremendous mass media functions as an indoctrination center. The ruling circle has launched satellites in order to project a beam across the earth and indoctrinate the world. And while there might be some cultural differences, these differences are not qualitative, but quantitative. In other words, if technology and the ruling circle go on as they are now, the people of the world will be conditioned to adopt Western values. Catch that, brothers and sisters. We got a McDonald's in Saudi Arabia, a McDonald's in movie theaters all over the world. That's a Western value. I think Japan is a good example. The difference between people are getting very small. But again, that is in the interest of the ruling circle. I do not believe that history can be backtracked. If the world is really that interconnected, then we have to acknowledge that and say that in order for the people to be free, they will have to control the institutions of their community and have some form of representation in the technological center that they have produced. The United States, in order to correct its robbery of the world, will have to first return much of which it has stolen. I don't see how we could talk about socialism when the problem is world distribution. I think that this is what Marx meant when he talked about the non-state. I was at Alex Haley's house some time ago, and he talked to me about his search for his past. He found it in Africa, but when he returned there shortly afterward, he was in a state of panic. His village had not changed very much. But when he went there, he saw an old man walking down the road, holding something that he cherished to his car. It was a small to his ear. It was a small transistor radio that was zeroed in on the British Broadcasting Company or network. What I'm trying to say is that the mass media, plus the development of transportation, make it impossible for us to think of ourselves in terms of separate entities as nations. Do you realize that it only took me approximately 5 hours to get from San Francisco to Boston? It only takes 10 hours to get from America to Vietnam. The ruler circle no longer even acknowledge wars. They call them police actions. They call them riots of the Vietnamese people, domestic disturbance. What I am saying is that the ruling circle must realize and accept the consequences of what they have done. They know that there's only one world, but they are determined to follow the logic of their exploitation. A short time ago in Detroit, the community was under siege, and now 16 members of the Black Panther Party are in prison. The local police laid siege on that community and that house, and they used the same weapons they use in Iraq, Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, 2 tanks rolled up. The same things happen in Afghanistan because the police are there also.
You say Afghanistan, Vietnam, right?
Power to the people. Just to bring it up to date, so I want comrades to see how the police are still working in that same fashion. The police are everywhere, and they all wear the same uniform and use the same tools and have the same purpose, the protection of the ruling circle here in North America. It is true that the world is one community, but we are not satisfied with the concentration of this power. We want the power for the people. I said earlier, but I strayed away, that the theory of the negation is valid. Some scholars have been wondering why in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, the resistance always seeks the goal of a collective society. They seem not to institute the economy of their capitalists. They seem to jump all the way from feudalism to a collective society. And some people can't understand why. Why won't they follow historical Marxism or historical materialism? Why won't they go from feudalism to the development of a capitalistic base and finally to socialism? They don't do it because they can't do it. They don't do it for the same reason that the Black community in Harlem cannot develop capitalism, that the Black community in Oakland or San Francisco cannot develop capitalism, because the imperialists have already pre-emptied the field. They have already centralized the wealth. Therefore, in order to deal with them all we can do is liberate our community and then move on them as a collective force. We have had long arguments, brothers and sisters, with people about our convictions. Before we became conscious, we used to call ourselves a dispersed collection of colonies here in North America. And people would argue with me all day and all night, asking, quote, how can you possibly be a colony? In order to be a colony, you have to have a nation. And you're not a nation, you're a community. You're a dispersed collection of communities, unquote. Because the Black Panther Party is not embarrassed to change or admit error, tonight I would like to accept the criticism and say that those critics were absolutely right. We are a collection of communities, just as the Korean people, the Vietnamese people, and the Chinese people are a collection of communities, a dispersed collection of communities, because we have no superstructure of our own. The superstructure we have is the superstructure of Wall Street, which all of our labor produced. This is a distorted form of collectivity. Everything's been collected, but it's used exclusively in the interests of the ruling circle. This is why the new African Black Panther Party denounces Black capitalism and say that all we can do is liberate our community, not only in Vietnam, but here, not only in Haiti and the People's Republic of Puerto Rico, but the many communities of the world. We must unite as one community and then transform the world into a place where people will be happy. Wars will end. The state itself will no longer exist, and we will have communism. But we cannot do this right away. When transformation takes place, when structural change takes place, the result is usually cultural lag. After the people possess the means of production, we will probably not move directly to communism, but linger with revolutionary intercommunalism until such time as we can wash away bourgeois thought, until such time as we can wash away racism and reactionary thinking, until such time as people are not attached to their nation as a peasant is attached to the soil. Until such time, brothers and sisters, comrades, that people can gain their sanity and develop a culture that is essentially human, that will serve the people instead of some God, because we cannot avoid contact with each other. We will have to develop a value system that will help us function together in harmony, unquote. Minister of Defense, Huey P. Newton.
All power to the people. All power to the people. Hey, like what we just listened to just now was Huey P. telling us, that was in 1970, telling us about intercommunalism, that we can't really trust the government. We can't really trust its politicians. We can't put our faith in the system. We have to organize in our communities, community to community, and we have to build relationship from each community to be able to sustain ourselves, because we cannot look to these imperialists or these oligarchs and their institutions, their schools, their police department, their economic sectors, all of these spaces, they have control to be able to benefit them and oppress us. That's what we just learned. That's what Huey P. Newton was basically teaching us. You cannot trust their institutions. That's it. I mean, I'm about to go, like this week, it was all over the news about the NBA player from Boston that got the contract, $300-something million. And he said he's about to open up, he's about to bring a Black Wall Street into Boston. And there are activists and a whole bunch of different people that are saying this is a good thing, this is a great thing. But we've been through this already. And if you're following what we're learning from these classes, like these classes should be able to teach you what is real and what's fake. I mean, like you should be able, after listen to this class right here and using dialectic materialism, you should be able to listen to Jaylen Brown and see if he's bringing prosperity to the community or if he's bringing more capitalism to the community. I'm about to play the video where he's going to tell you himself.
The investment and commitment from the Celtics and from the rest of the community, and that investment and commitment will be felt in return from me here in Boston, on and off the floor, but also hopefully soon around the world. You guys being here is special for me today. You guys represent the next generation. You represent the future. And everything I do is try to make this world a better place. So thank you all for being in attendance. Thank you all for being up here. Thank you all for sharing this moment. And we got a lot of work to do. So let's get started.
And Jaylen, what do you plan to do with the generational wealth? I mean, what do you plan to do off and on the floor with this new contract?
Well, that's a great question. I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston. I want to attack the wealth disparity here. I think there's analytics that supports that, stimulating the wealth gap could actually be something that could be betterment for the entire economy. With the biggest financial deal in NBA history, it makes sense to talk about 1 year investment in community, but 2, also, the wealth disparity here that nobody wants to talk about. It's top 5 in the US. It's something that we can all improve on. It's unsettling. And I think through my platform, through influential partners, through selected leaders, government officials, a lot who are in this room, that we can come together and create new jobs, new resources, new businesses, new ideas that could, highlight minorities, but also stimulate the economy and the wealth gap at the same time. I think that could be a mix of commercial entities, real estate, residentials as well. Boston could be, a fully integrated, self-sufficient attacking minorities and stimulating the wealth gap. I think Boston could be a pilot, not just for wealth disparity here in the U.S., but also for around the world. So you asked me what I wanted to do or what I want to do. One, I want to, attack that wealth gap here in Boston, create a project. Also, I want to help stimulate the overall economy, and I want to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston.
Hell yeah, everybody clapping. You heard him about the wealth disparity. You listen to what he just said. From going through these classes, from listening to what Huey Newton is been saying, from listening to Frantz Fanon, from listening to all these people, I already knew. But first of all, you know how I got this? A friend of mine called me as soon as he got this contract. A friend of mine called me and he sent me the article and he was like, yo, you should give your opinion on this. I'm like, man, nobody want to hear my opinion. He was like, yeah, that's exactly why you should give it. Because everybody believes he's coming to bring Black Wall Street. Number one, what is Black Wall Street? Because the way they make Black Wall Street out to sound, it sounds like Wakanda. It sounds like this place where everybody that was living there, all the Black people that were living there, were living good, were eating good. Matter of fact, let me show you a video. I'm going to show you, because this is the way they define Black Wall Street. Those are communities where only people with a certain amount of money can stay in. That everybody there is doing good, everybody's eating good, everybody's paying their bill, their housing, everything is low. That's what they call Black Wall Street, that everybody's going to be able to take care of themselves, be self-sufficient. They have those communities now. Right now in the United States of America, not 1917. I'm not talking about back then. I'm talking about right now in the United States of America. There are communities that are like mostly Black, but to live in those communities, you got to make almost 6 figures. If you make 6 figures, you could live in those communities. I'm about to show you a video. It's going to be a small video showing, they name down the communities. You could look it up later on because they're going to tell you their website, all of that. I don't want to promote them, but you could look it up on your own, and they're going to show you the top 10, basically Black Wall Street of today. But this is how they make people think Black Wall Street was, that everybody had, everybody shared in it, everybody shared in the money, made money together, everybody ate together, everybody was doing good. We're going to get to that in a second. But first, let me show you the Black Wall Street that are going on right now in current time.
And welcome back. In this Black Excellence presentation, we will highlight the top 10 richest Black neighborhoods in America.
Turn it up, comrade.
The site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. To inspire you as we enlighten you. When we initially
I think the audio just have a moment to adjust. But if you can, see if you can turn it up, Captain.
Neighborhoods in the United States for African Americans. These Black communities are ethnic enclaves with the wealthy.
So you can't hear the audio at all?
Nope.
It's pretty low.
I don't hear anything. Sorry.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. Where is it at?
See if it's anywhere on the thing.
Data sources to reflect the most current demographics.
Is it here?
No, you will have to stop sharing.
Oh. All right. Oh, look, I will have to stop sharing and go out here for me to show it. I don't need, you can watch that later on when we do the video. But they're basically just telling you about the communities in America that you have to have 6 figures to live in. And they named them down. They're all over the country. So these communities, for the sake of argument, these communities already exist, but they're not for everybody. These communities go by class. If you make enough money, you can live in these communities. But most people think this is how Black Wall Street, that's how Black Wall Street was. Everybody was eating, everybody was able to sustain themselves. This is another video. I think the brothers that's going to be speaking, his name is Sue Black. This is on Black Power Media. And what they do here is they break down myths, Black myths, black economic mix. But look, listen to him and hear what he got to say about how Black Wall Street really was. You probably can't hear this either. Can you hear this?
Yeah, we can hear it. Nah, it's too low.
Nah, I can't hear it.
Yeah,
I can't hear it either.
Yo,
All right, I'm coming to fix that. 1 second.
adults were neither businessmen or even Wakanda.
Can you hear it?
Now we can hear it.
All right, all power.
Hello and welcome back. In this Black...
Now, I'm playing this video to show you they have communities right now, because most people don't realize this. Most people keep talking about Black Wall Street, but these communities, even Jalen Brown, he said he wanted to bring Black Wall Street to to Boston, as if these communities don't exist, but they have a price on them. And if you can't afford to live there, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, like the majority of the country, you can't afford to live in these places. But I'm about
Excellence presentation, we will highlight the top 10 richest Black neighborhoods in America.
Welcome to blackexcellence.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
When we initially launched the Black Excellence channel, our very first video highlighted what our research uncovered as the most affluent neighborhoods in the United States for African Americans. These Black communities are ethnic enclaves where the wealthy and highly educated African Americans gravitate to. We have refreshed our U.S. Census data sources to reflect the most current demographics with new income, education, and population statistics. The neighborhoods we found are very diverse, and six-figure incomes are the norm. These are suburbs of major cosmopolitans, where you can enjoy the amenities of a close-knit, safe neighborhood, but also take a short commute to enjoy the attractions of a metropolitan. In this original Black Excellence video, we will be featuring the top 10 richest Black neighborhoods in the United States. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, Cedar Hill, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, Texas. Cedar Hill is a city in Dallas and Ellis counties in the state of Texas. It is a suburb of Dallas and is part of the Best Southwest area, located approximately 16 miles southwest of downtown. From the green acres of Cedar Hill State Park to a historic downtown filled with shops, Cedar Hill, Texas creates the right balance between city streets and open spaces. Known as the hill country of the Metroplex, Cedar Hill has 22 parks and 4 greenbelts, while residents enjoy the proximity to the expansive Joe Pool Lake. This community enjoys lower housing costs, boasts of quality school districts, hosts a plethora of dining options, and offers a slew of recreational opportunities. We profiled zip code 75104 in Cedar Hill since it is arguably one of the best predominantly Black communities to live in. U.S. Census data demonstrates that its average income is close to 6 figures at $93,672, and over 52% of its residents are African American. 51% of its residents are college educated, and 71% are homeowners. Dallas County residents hold high-paying jobs and occupations in the fields that range from architecture, engineering, health and medicine, and computer science. Number 9. Randallstown, Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore, Maryland. Randallstown is a safe, welcoming suburb.
I stopped it right there because, like I told you, you could Google it, you could look it up for yourself. No, but these communities exist. They exist in real time. When we down here serving the people and we working with the community, the people that live in these communities don't come down to come help the people in the valley. They don't care about the people in the valley because to them, they've made it to the mountaintop. And they stay up there at the mountaintop and they talk about the people down here, the people in the hood, the people in the projects. They talking about them like they're the problem. They scapegoat them for what? Imperialists and the people that they work with and work for, the people that pay them. That's who they take up for. And they talk down about the people that's in the community that we serve. Like, we need to understand that this thing is not a racial thing. There's a big class dynamic, a chasm, a wide chasm by class that we must address, that we continue to ignore. When you hear people like Jalen Brown come up there and start talking about Black Wall Street, he knows exactly what Black Wall Street is. He's not an idiot. He's telling you the people he's going to be working with. He's working with the politicians that brought the gentrifications. He's working with the house owners, the landlords, the slumlords, the corporations that's pushing people in the streets. That's who he's bringing into the communities, to come in those communities and take over those communities and buy up those communities and push those people out. Once you push those people out, then you bring in the Negroes that you want in there, the rich black people that you want, the black people that can afford the $2,500 rent, the $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 rent for one apartment. You bring those people in after you've used the police to arrest, to kill, to brutalize the people that were already living there. And after you've used the slumlords to push all those people into the streets, you bring in a new class of people. And then you change, in 10 years, 15 years, he's going to be sitting up there saying, like, look, when I got my contract, I changed the wealth gap in Boston. And he's going to point to all the new people that are living in those communities, and nobody's going to say a word about the people that were gentrified out of those communities. Yo, these people are sociopaths. I mean, because I believe they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, and I'm going to show you, the next video that I'm going to show you is going, oh, no, it doesn't. The next video I'm showing you is going to explain how the average person in Black Wall Street really live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. How the average person, 95% of the black people that live there, how they really live.
Or even Wakanda, a fictional place. Now you may say we're being too literal. Man, we know Black Wall Street wasn't Wakanda, but it still was economic independence. This is, I say, that even if we were to loosen the definition of self-sustainability, which we really shouldn't, the facts still just don't bear out anything resembling independence. Most of the black people in Greenwood were not prospering. According to the Oklahoma Commission study on the Tulsa race riot.
Dialectic materialism, going through science and using science and history and data to be able to understand the phenomena. Like, he's going back, he's reading you data. He's not reading you data from Fanon, from somebody that they would say is radical, from John Henry Clark, George Jackson. Yo, he's taking the data from the city, from the state, and he's reading the data to you. And listen to what the data say.
Despite the growing fame of its commercial district, the vast majority of Greenwood's adults were neither businessmen nor businesswomen, but worked long hours under trying conditions for white employers, emphasis added, largely barred from employment in both the oil industry and for most of Tulsa's manufacturing facilities. These men and women toiled at a difficulty of 10, 30, generally menial jobs, that the kinds that most whites consider beneath them, as janitors and ditch diggers, dishwashers, maids, porters, day laborers, domestics, and service workers. In song, it's largely forgotten that it was nevertheless their paychecks that built Greenwood and their hard work that helped build Tulsa. This means that it was mainly the product of poor black labor earned from white bosses that sustained the prestigious black district now known as Black Wall Street.
Because the way how they say it, it's like the whole town was bombed. Everybody was bombed. It was a small district. It was a district where the black bourgeois had their businesses, and the people, the people probably couldn't even afford to buy the stuff out of there. Because those people that had those businesses, they really served the white economy. They didn't serve the black people that were in that space. Because 95% of them, like they just told you, were poor. They didn't have the money to entertain none of those businesses or industries. But when those industries were destroyed because they were capitalists, like they made a big noise about it. It was written in history because their voice, those black capitalists, that bourgeois class, they could control the narrative of what happened. So they changed the narrative to being an attack on their businesses, or an attack on them, to it being the whole town and everybody in there, and acting like that town was self-sufficient and they took care of everybody. Yo, but these people, this class of people, been doing this forever. If you go back and you read accounts from Denmark Vesey, if you don't know who Denmark Vesey, look him up. He was a slave that was free because he won the lottery, and then he used the money from the lottery for 20 years to prepare to have a revolution to take over that space. I think it was North or South Carolina. But if go read about Denmark Vesey, but in his account, he tells us that they had free black Negroes that were there that had businesses. These Negroes even owned slaves. They had free black people in that space that owned slaves, and they supported the institution of slavery. These people didn't leave. They've always been here. They're here now. They're the Jalen Browns. They're going to come in the community and say they're bringing in industry, they're bringing in jobs, they're bringing in factories. But what did UP just tell you? We can no longer trust them. We cannot trust their institutions. We can't trust anything they're doing. The only way for us to sustain ourselves is to do it ourselves in our communities, and then go community to community, organizing community to community to get the people together. Because only working with the people can we sustain ourselves. These imperialists, these capitalists, because that's what Jalen Brown is. Jalen Brown is no longer one of us. Jalen Brown is a capitalist. He's an imperialist. $300 million. I mean, you on your way, my boy. I mean, you good. You're not us. So he's saying he's going to come into our community. I live in Newark, New Jersey. He's going to come into Newark, New Jersey and do what Shaq and Oprah already did. I mean, these famous people, they come in.
And Queen Latifah.
Yeah, and Queen Latifah. They come in, they buy up the property, they get deals and tax abatements from the politicians because the politicians use them for social credibility. And when they get this property, they raise the rent up, they push the people out of the housing, and then they say like they're making the place better. When we're driving outside every single day and we're watching homeless people block the block. Everywhere you turn, there's a homeless person. There's a homeless person out there asking you for something, and you can't give it to them. So you drive past, like me, I drive past homeless people every day. I don't have money to give every homeless person. Yo, so what is that doing to me? What is that making me, what is that turning me into? Because my children are in the car. The children that I work with, they're in the car. They see me drive past the homeless people. They think it's okay. It's okay to just drive past the homeless people. Even though they know I have no money to give them, well, maybe they don't understand that at this point, but they see it. What's going on? Oh. Can everybody see me now?
All power to the
Yes.
people.
Oh, you want me to hit stop share? No, we're not done with the PowerPoint, Secretary General. I got to go back and show T.I. because T.I. said everything that I said. So what do I hit? Now I got to look for share again. Like, I am so horrible with this computer stuff. Give me 1 second, y'all. Go ahead. Well, I'm about to go to it now because everything that I was just saying just now, these celebrities already know. These celebrities like Jalen Brown, they know these things do nothing for the community. Yo, but I'm about to put on T.I. T.I. is going to explain to you, like all these things that Jalen Brown is talking about is already been done. They call it the opportunity zone. They got different fancy names for all of them. But I'm about to play the video of T.I. I remember like, yo, this, when I was growing up, man, look, Rubber Band, man, T.I. was my man. I remember I used to listen to T.I. like bumping, like, yo, T.I. real, like he tough. Yo, and then as I grew up, as I started studying, I'm looking at all these people, looking at these celebrities, and I start to see them for what they are. Yo, he makes my stomach turn. Like, I can't stand no celebrity. I despise celebrity because I know now their purpose in the society. Yo, real talk, after I play the video, I'm going to say what I got to say. First of all, this is a revolt. They're saying that revolt, and they're supposed to be speaking for us, for the masses, for Black people. They're speaking for us, and they're telling everybody what we need to do to be able to sustain ourselves. You got Candace Owens right there. You see, they make caricatures of these people. She's a sociopath too, but they make it seem like she's the sociopath, she's the sellout, but T.I. and Killer Mike that's on the stage, like these are good, these are revolutionaries. They care about the people. But I want you to listen to this conversation because this is disgusting.
You're talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen, I appreciate.
Yo, you hear that? Yo, look at them. That's Killer Mike. Look at him. Look at him, bro. Disgusted. Look at T.I.
Disgusting.
Yeah, like this.
Oh my gosh.
Just look at him.
I'm glad I didn't see that.
But did you hear what they said? He said, first of all, I'm a rich person. I have no problem with the tax policy or whatever that the Republicans do. You know how the tax policies they pass that harm the poor, the masses of the people, and protects the rich, the oligarchs. He has no problem with that because he's rich. and he's going to take advantage of it. But this is the douchebag that says he's speaking for me. I mean, but listen to him explain to you the opportunity zones and how they work. Look at Killer Mike smiling. Look at him laughing. Like, I can't believe he just said that on national TV, and they're laughing, shucking, and jiving like what he just said is acceptable.
Okay, all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefit, but
it's called a crooked clock is right twice.
That's Tamika Mallory. She's cutting him off to try to buffer it, to try to fix it, because she know them laughing is disgusting. And so she's trying to fix it, talking about a crooked clock is right. What crooked clock? Them letting rich people get off without paying taxes, and they killing us out here with taxes. That's problematic. That's not a crooked clock. That's imperialism. That's exploitation. That's oppression. But she said a crooked clock. You crooked. But listen.
Right. I get that. But what we must understand when we're talking about opportunity zone, and we're giving the credit to the person who pushed that legislation forward, which has started with Tim Scott, a black man who happens to be a Republican.
He running for president. I think this was in 2018, if I'm not sure. I think this was in 2018 when they did this. But he's talking about Tim Scott that came up with the opportunity zone. That's what Jalen Brown, whatever. That's what he's talking about. Opportunity zone. Those are the kind of schemes that they perform on the people.
Republican out of South Carolina. That's who wrote the legislation and presented it. However, the present president, if you can call him that, he did allow it to go through. But that had to, in order to benefit from opportunity zones, you have to have capital gains taxes.
What are capital gains taxes, Secretary General?
So capital gains taxes are taxes on sale on the asset that you sell. So assets is anything like if you own property, house, or business, a car, anything of value that you sell, you're supposed to pay tax on. But most people like us, poor people, we don't have anything to sell to take advantage of capital gain taxes, which will make us qualify to take advantage of things such as opportunity zones. So these are barriers that they put in front of us, but they act like they're giving us access when they're not giving us access.
All power to the people. And like, he's about to explain that. He's about to tell us that. Yo, like they're so, like they just think we're so stupid. Like we don't see what they're doing or what they're saying. But he's about to tell it to us like we're dummies. Listen to him.
It ain't many black people in these opportunity zones
but they
that have
jobs.
capital gains taxes to be able to reap the benefits of these.
I don't know her name. The one sitting over here. She talking about you got a job. You see, like that what I mean by they think we stupid. Having a job, it ain't capital gains. Just having a job, working at Home Depot, working at FedEx, working at what's his name, Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Like, what are you talking about? But she's just trying to cut him off, talking about something. They have a job. I mean, but I'm gonna let it keep playing.
Therefore, it will be billionaire corporations, other people who ain't from these communities coming in here building shit that we don't need.
You're not we. Yo, T.I., none of these celebrities are we. He's the one coming in with Oprah, Shaq, Queen Latifah. All these people are coming into the community. Jalen Brown, they're coming into the community to build while using, like cloaking themselves with the people, with the struggle of the people. Not like T.I. hasn't known struggle for the last 20, 30 years since he's been a rap star. I don't know if he even knew struggle before that, but none of these people know anything about struggle, know about worrying about paying your rent. Am I going to be able to pay my rent? How long before they kick me out if I don't pay my rent? Yo, these people don't think about none of that. And how are they on this stage speaking for us? I mean, but like, let me see if I can
doing shit that don't help us, but they do that so they can shelter their taxes. Now, I've been investing in opportunity zones all my motherfucking life.
All his motherfucking life, he's been invested in opportunity zones and things like that he knows the community don't benefit from. Hey, yo, Huey P. Newton told you, we just read that. Real talk. When we start this class, we have to go through that. You have to read that. We have to do eat our food, do the dishes before we come to these people in real time. That was 1970. Huey P. Newton was speaking. 1970, 68, 67, and we living in 2023, and they're still running that hustle. Yo, this opportunity zone hustle was started by Nixon. I forgot what Nixon called it. Anybody remember what Nixon called it?
I think urban renewal.
Urban renewal, exactly. He brought in what they called economic enterprise zones.
Yes. I mean, so in 2016, 17, whatever, Tim Scott flip it over, plagiarize it, and bring it out, put his own spin on it. But these celebrities, these people have been benefiting from this stuff their whole entire lives. They know what they're doing to us. I mean, they understand what they're doing to us. I don't know how much more this video is, but let me finish this video so we can get into a conversation.
You know what I'm saying? So I'll be damned if anybody gonna benefit from it, and it ain't gonna be me. So, but I actually know the need of the community. You have
I'm done with him. I'm done. No, he doesn't know the need of the community. Let me see where I'm at. But how do I get back? You said stop share, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he doesn't know the need of community. He doesn't care about the community. I had to cut that video off because it disgusts me. It makes me want to throw up listening to them. I mean, these people come on national TV and they do this and they don't even think twice about it. They go home and they go to sleep. Yo, I couldn't come on here and lie. I couldn't come sit on the screen and sit here for an hour, 2 hours and just lie to everybody. But they can. And that's what make them sociopaths. Yo, Jaylen Brown, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. He's going to come into that community. He's going to bring corporations. They're going to do the same thing that they did in Newark. I remember a couple of weeks ago, Obama was on social media somewhere, and he's talking about all the good work that Newark has done with policing. And like Newark is the pilot. It shows everybody how to do it around the country. Yo, last week on video, I recorded and I showed it in the political education class of the police in mass cars, looking like they were part of a gang unit, grabbing a young man, throwing him in the car and not telling him what he was arrested for. It looked like a third world country. I showed it on the video. This was last week. This is what they do in the community. The police are still acting like
If I can interject real quick, that was a video that was showing the police having like these regular civilian looking vehicles with tinted windows, right?
Yes. Who is that?
That's Corey.
Okay, all power, Corey. All power, Corey. Now I didn't see you in the screen, but yeah, that's the video. That was last week. That was last week, right before we started camp. We go into camp and the police are running down, grabbing people, throwing them in vans. But if you ask anybody in America, they'll tell you that couldn't happen. We live in a country with rights, with laws. Like the police can't just come up. First of all, they got to read you your Miranda right. You have. If you think that's how it works on these streets, you've never been on these streets. You don't know how it is on these streets. On these streets, we facing something totally different. Like people are not homeless because they're drug addicts. You become a drug addict after you become homeless. When I'm driving on the streets, I see homeless people walking across the street. I'm talking about the cars are zooming by, and these homeless people are walking on the street like they don't care about their lives. This society makes you crazy. It gives you what they call it, mental health, whatever. This society makes your mental health what it is. They make you crazy. And until we start dealing with that and start seeing these people for what they are, we're never going to change anything. And that's what these classes are for us to understand what intercommunalism is. Understanding that our issues are not just racial one. They have a class dynamic to it that is just as cannibalistic as race. And once we start to understand that and we start working in our communities, building intercommunal, revolutionary intercommunalism, then we can start to liberate ourselves. And once we start to liberate ourselves, then we can start talking about forming nations. And when we could when communism and all of these things gonna come about. But first, it starts with us understanding that we cannot trust these institutions. We cannot trust these politicians. We cannot trust the celebrities. We can't even trust the academics. The academics are part of the social conditioning. They co-sign and they go along with everything that the state goes along with. And once you start to understand all of that, then you get to the point where Huey P. Newman is saying we have to build intercommunally. That's a whole different level. That's a different level of revolutionary thought, revolutionary action. But you got to go through the education. I mean, so right now I see Tom got his hand up. Who else got their hand up? If you want to say something, put your hand up. But I'm about to go. Hey, Tom, you ready, Tom?
Yeah. Well, first thing I wanted to say was, most of these corporations, the big corporations that we think of as American corporations, like McDonald's and Walmart and shit, they're really in like 100 to 150 countries. So their base is the whole world, but the ownership, the major stockholders, the people that are in the ruling class, they draw their wealth from all of these countries all over the world to make their capital. So their interests are global, and the people in the United States are just one of many countries that they exploit. They're not loyal to the United States. They're not loyal to America. They're loyal to their own financial interests and the interests of their class, which are globalized interests. And to fight them, we have to have a globalized worldview of our class, the working class. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Black Wall Street, because this is something I did a lot of investigation and study about. And, you know, you were saying earlier about you got to see things in their context and look at all the interconnections. Now, the myth of Black Wall Street being independent is connected to the fact that Tulsa was the first oil boom town in America, or really in the world. And Oklahoma has its own particular unique history. When they wanted to steal the land from the American Indians on the East Coast, they forced them to the middle of the country, what they call the Trail of Tears, when they took their land in Georgia and North Carolina and stuff, and they made them walk to Oklahoma, you know, in the snow and everything, and, you know, lots of people died, babies, old people, and they told them they could have this land in perpetuity as nations. There was, you know, various Indian nations, the Cherokee, the, you know, whatever, the Choctaws, so forth. Now, when they, as the white, you know, community pushed farther west, they wanted to take this Indian land again. Well, what they did was they passed a law that privatized the land, and they took it away from the nations and they gave it to the individuals, knowing that a lot of the individuals would be able to sell it because now it's private property, right? So they divided up these reservations into land, plots of land. Well, then they discovered oil. Now, the oil companies, when they moved in, they took leases on speculation, which meant if they dug a dry well on your land, they didn't pay you squat. But if they struck oil, you got a percentage of the profit that came out of that. So they had these Indians, you know, living on these small plots of land, suddenly getting a lot of money. Now, under the Jim Crow laws of Oklahoma, non-white people could not put their money into a white bank. So the blacks had opened up banks in Tulsa, and the Indians could put their money into the black bank, which gave the black banks capital to invest in the black community. And that was the basis of the prosperity. I mean, some of it was the nickels and dimes of, you know, porters and stuff like the guy was talking about, but that was chicken shit compared to the amount of money that the Indians had to invest because of the oil leases. So, you know, suddenly these black banks are starting to become bigger capitalists, and they got money to build all kinds of stuff. Well, the white bourgeoisie, the middle-class whites, hated that shit, right? Because they didn't have access to that capital. And that was the reason why the Ku Klux Klan and stuff stirred people up to attack Black Wall Street, And ultimately, they did away with the Jim Crow laws of segregation so they could push the black middle class back down into the working class. So the story was not that you could work hard and save your money and become rich. It was a phenomena, an exception to the rule. Otherwise, there would have been Black Wall Streets in every community, which there weren't, because for the most part, the white banks controlled the ghettos, not the black banks. So, you know, there's this whole myth that comes about. The reality is that the black bourgeoisie in America is what Mao called a comprador bourgeoisie. A comprador bourgeoisie gets rich because of its connection to the imperialists. They're not an independent national bourgeoisie. And they may mouth about nationalism and, you know, I'm black, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, their economic connection is to the ruling class. So like this guy says, he ain't arguing with the Republicans, you know, who are racist as fuck, because he's a comprador bourgeoisie. And we have to realize that when we divide the line in revolution, he does not fall on the same side as the black working man or the black poor person. He's going to align always with the rich white ruling class. So they're the main proponents of black nationalism, not because they think there's going to be an independent black nation. That's just a hustle. What he wants is control over the dialogue, right, in the black community, to keep black people from realizing their connection to other people is the class basis of unity. That's why they attacked the Panthers, not only with the police, but also with these pork chop black nationalists, like, what's his name, Kenyatta. Not Kenyatta.
Karenga. He said Kenyatta.
Karenga, yeah. Ron Karenga and his boys were the ultimately, you know, most militant black nationalist voice. But Karenga was not serious about creating a black nation. He was seriously connected to the imperialist ruling class. And that's why they could use them as foot soldiers on the ground in the ghetto to do what the cops couldn't do without raising a big stink. And that was to drive the Black Panthers out of the community and turn it into gangland. So we have to keep teaching people to look at things from a dialectical, historical way and see that the class unity is the way to liberation. That's what I want to say.
All power to Tom. I hope y'all was paying attention. He just gave us a whole extra lesson class. I hope y'all was paying attention.
That was deep. That was beautiful.
Yeah, but check it out though. Like when we talking about these people are running a hustle on us. Yo, if you've been listening to these classes, you've been listening to what the Black Panther Party saying, you listen to the 10-point program. Because people are gonna see this and they're gonna say, like, oh, they're just hating. They're just hating on somebody, they're hating on rich people. Yo, why don't Jalen Brown go to those communities and build cooperative and put their hands in the people in the community? Everybody that live in that community, why doesn't he go in there with all that millions, whatever money you want to bring, and open up cooperatives? And every single person that live in that community has stock in that industry, in that institution, in that whatever. Put it in the hands of the community. Yo, they will never do that. They will never put nothing in the hands of the community because that's not how imperialism works. That's not how a colony works. They're there to extract resources, not bring resources in. So if you want to come in there, Jalen Brown, and I'm coming to you, Yahya Abdullah, Jonathan Cook, I don't know what name you want me to call, but we could go with Yahya. But yeah, but look, they're not Jalen Brown, Oprah, Jay-Z, none of these people. Jay-Z's not going down to Marcy Projects and he's now buying Marcy projects. And then every single person that live in Marcy project has stock in Marcy project, have ownership in Marcy project, or the bodegas or the stores or whatever around it. He's not going to do that because that's not how imperialism works. That's not how capitalism works. These people are capitalists. They're going to extract and take from the community till there's nothing there, and then they're going to bring in a new group set of people to do the same thing too. That's basically how this thing works. So if you're saying like, yo, you don't agree with Jaylen Brown, you don't want him going dealing with the politicians, you find them criminals, yo, start cooperatives and put the money in the hands of the people. Then we'll believe you, Jaylen Brown. Then we'll believe you're really serious about sustaining those people. Build dual contending power. Build schools next to the schools that the state has, and then put curriculum in those schools that's going to teach the people how to think, not condition them. Then Jaylen Brown, we're going to say, oh man, Jaylen, I was wrong about you, Jaylen. I didn't know you. I didn't know you cared about the community this much. But Jaylen's not going to do that. You know what Jaylen is going to do? He's going to do the same thing that LeBron did. Come in there and build schools where everybody is failing. Yo, they said the 8th graders in passing math tests in like 3 years in that LeBron James school, that they're failing. They're doing worse than the public school. They're doing worse than the schools around it. With all the money he has, with all of that stuff he has, how are they doing worse? Because they don't care about the community. All of it is for show. It's for show, for credibility. Hey, Yaya, what you got for me, Yaya?
Hey, greetings, revolutionary greetings, everybody in the class. I'm so glad to be here. I'm grateful to all power of the people. I'm so grateful to have been invited. And I want to thank you, Captain Africa, for your excellent class. I have learned a lot, thank God, whatever. I'm using the name Jonathan Cook. That's who I am on Facebook. That's who I am. I have not yet changed my name legally to Yahya Abdullah, although I was given that name when I was 21 and converted to Islam. And, you know, I intend to change my name legally to Yahya Abdullah. But right now, I am Jonathan Cook here on Facebook and wherever else. So anyway, I would like to say this. Thank you to the chairman, Shaka Zulu. Absolutely, thank you. And I appreciate his Shakur food drives, or whatever you call it, the distribution of free food. I love that. It's so wonderful. And Mr. Thomas, is it Watts? Is that what it is?
Tom Watts.
It is Tom Watts. Yeah, of course he is. And, you know, thank you so much for your education, sharing that with us. And, of course, you know, there's nothing like hearing the truth that these aren't corporations. They're not the bourgeois. They're multinational corporations. In other words, they have no allegiance to any nation. They could give a crap about us or anybody else because they know that when they got all their money, and what the capitalist system does, of course, it enables people to die and suffer because these other people are reaping all the benefits, and people will drop by the wayside. That's here in this country, you know, all over the world because of these goddamn multinational corporations, et cetera, and whatever. Anyways, I know we need a revolution, and I've known that for a long. I'm not going to go into it, but no, I actually tried to help that. A long time ago, I have tried to help build a revolution, and I have to admit it, but you know, so. I mean, the name of the game, I guess, is organizing. Is that true? I don't know. Distribution of redistribution of things in the community, food distribution, food drives, and a lot of things we could do, and we need to do, and we need to try to. I don't know. I'm not going to say what we need because I'm new to this. It's just during the pandemic that I wanted to be a Black Panther or the United Panther movement. And people were gracious enough to let me start on Facebook or whatever. And I would contact Tom Watson. I would try to reach out to people. And recently I became a friend of our chairman on Facebook, whatever, not a real friend, but, you know, and so therefore I tried to join as many organizations as I could for some stupid reason, but I'm now in the United Panther movement. I'm a White Panther. I'm a Black Panther. I'm in the New Young Lords. I'm in the, all these things like Causa and the Rainbow Coalition.
To the people.
The Rainbow Coalition, the new Rainbow Coalition. Thank God for Facebook. And But yeah, we got to keep it up. And I don't know. I've asked before. I was in one of these classes before, and I asked, "What can I do?" I'm 69, and I believe the answer was, "Well, you should hook up with some other elderly comrades or whatever, or try to." I'm in Boston, by the way. I am in Boston. I tried to find out what I could do here, and people say, "Well, try to identify the needs in your community," because I don't know what kind of organizing is going on here in general. I mean, like I say, I used to be a cadre, whatever. I'm not going to go into that, but anyway, so here I don't know what to do, but I would like to be part of the United Panther movement and the White Panthers and the Rainbow Coalition. So God bless you all, and may Allah bless you and your family. We all understand dialectical materialism and let us move forward towards a revolution. We need it. So many people need it. We all need it. Nobody needs it more than people all over the world, because it's as we all learned today. This is something in the communalism that Huey P. Newton spoke about at Boston College. I wish I had been living in Boston back then, but the communalism he spoke about had to do, I guess, with I don't know. I got to learn more about it. I got to listen to that speech some more. But I will say one last thing, and that is, thank you, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you for all your comments. And the one last thing I want to say is, please forgive me, and just let me be part of the movement. Let me offer my ability, my strength, my life, whatever it takes. I would like to see some change in this horrible system that actually is killing people and causing people to suffer needlessly because someone's reaping a huge profit and other people suffer. So let's stop it, please.
All power. Hey, don't worry about it. I see my comrade Rob Rich. He said he's gonna reach out to you, Yaya. He said he's gonna reach out to you. He got a lot of work for you to do. Don't worry.
Rob and I have been talking.
Rob gonna come get you. Rob is out there.
All right, I'll talk to Rob.
What up? And I gotta say something too. Like I'll be remiss if I don't say this. Thanks a lot, Chairman. The chairman is the one that's been helping us organizing the community and holding everything together. Real talk. Thanks a lot, Chairman. And another thing I want to say is, somebody ain't let me know about the dress code. And Stone ain't got no shirt on. Tom ain't had no shirt on. Y'all should have told me we wasn't wearing no shirt. I wouldn't have came with my shirt on either. Well, everybody coming up here with no shirt on, man.
Panther power.
Look, I love coming here because I told, during the week, man, I watch a lot of shows and I listen to a lot of political. Well, they say they're talking politics, and I try to get as much information as I can before I say anything. And when I watch these shows, everybody's lying. Nobody's telling the truth. It's all a hustle. It's all a political electoral hustle, and they're hustling everybody. And when I come to this space, this is a space where I get to speak my mind, speak the truth, and let the data speak for itself. And we can't trust these hustlers, yo. We got to know them. We got to see them and got to know them. And that's the point of going to these political education classes. Because after you graduate from this political education class, somebody like Jalen Brown, you should spot them. You should spot them a second into them opening their mouth. As soon as they start talking opportunity zone, Black Wall Street, talking about bringing in politicians, bringing in corporations, how are you going to bring the people that's bringing our suffering? The ones that are writing policies and making laws to make what they're doing legal, what these imperialists are doing legal. How are you going to bring them in the community to solve anything? You're not. You're not. You're coming in, you're a basketball player, you're an athlete, you're a celebrity. You're not, that's it. That's it. Your purpose is distraction. You're here to distract the people from what's real. You're a court jester. That's what these people are. We don't understand. These people are court jesters. They're entertainers. Their whole industry started hundreds of years ago. They used to bring them in in Europe. They wore the little hats on their head. They were they came in there and they danced for the king. They danced for whatever. And the king, when he got tired, he told them to get out of here. They brought somebody else. They were just entertainers, like the Roman Colosseum. That was boxing. That was football before now. They brought these people in and they were just entertainers, a distraction. They distracted the masses of people while they exploited them. Yo, that's all people like Jalen Brown. I know y'all watched the fight last night with Crawford. That's the only purpose these people serve, is to distract the masses. And that's what I think 1967, Huey P. Newton was telling us about about technology, about the information, how he was talking about how the dude traced his family back to Africa, and it's a guy with a radio in the 70s with a radio listening to BBC or listening to England or whatever. And he's telling you, like, yo, Huey saw the future before he even got there. So now you look at today, yo, it's only 6 companies that own all the media. Everything that we take in, that we consume, come from 6 companies. And these people control everything. So if you're in America, you in Africa, you in Asia, it don't matter. All you sons of bitches are materialists. They turn all of you into materialistic drones. So where you care more about materialism than human life. Yo, you will blow somebody away for stealing your car because that car is more important than a human life. That's what they've groomed you to be. And that's what you have to change. You got to have the courage. It's Promethean. You got to be courageous enough to be able to change that. And since I was talking, I see some more names. Hey, Gabby, look, Gabby, I saw your text a couple of days ago. Yo, I've been so busy, I didn't even get back, Gabby. But look, once I put you on, you already know, Gabby. I seen the text. What's today, Sunday?
Yeah, today's Sunday.
Yeah, today's, hey, Gabby, look, tomorrow, right? You sent me a message about somebody about the basketball camp, right?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't you?
No. I sent you a message about the direction of the Earth Book Club.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. And I missed that too. Hey, yo, look, that wasn't my fault. That was what you call it fault. That was Rodrigo. Where Rodrigo at? I blame Ron. Where you at, Ron? Well, I blame Rodrigo for that. But I gotta make it. It's on Tuesdays, right?
Yep, Tuesdays. It's on Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesdays.
Tuesday, 5 p.m. Hey, Secretary General, you gotta remind me, because he has a book club. They're talking about France Fanon. Hey, Yaya, I don't know if you check that out too. You should check that out too. That's a good book. Wretched of the Earth, right, Gabby?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Captain Africa. You're really gonna love the chapter that we're on, because if I remember correctly, we're currently on national culture. That's the chapter that we're currently on. So I think you're really so I think having you there is gonna be really educational.
No, I'm gonna Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'm gonna try my best to be there. Yo,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the Wretched of the Earth, who you said wrote that? I'm sorry, or Tuesday, what was that?
France Fanon.
Oh yeah, okay, of course. Sorry.
France Fanon. I gotta check this, I gotta check the schedule, but like we have the camp and we have games during the week. That's why it'd be hard for me to make it sometimes. On Tuesday, I know we got a game, but I'm not sure if it's 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock. But I'm gonna find out. But it doesn't matter what time it is because it's on Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm. It's on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my headphones on, man. I'm gonna make sure I'm there for the class. But what you got, Gabby?
Oh, I was just going to add to what y'all were saying, on how these as you called them, Captain Africa, as these jesters, how they play around and try and distract and entertain the masses. It's funny because they claim, they always claim that they are the sole ones that understand the needs of the people, but they portray themselves as they are the ones that are going to liberate everyone, as if they're the ones that can solely understand the people when they've never even interacted with them, when they've never even struggled alongside them or even understood why things are the way they are. As you said, they are a comprador class. They are directly linked with upholding white supremacy and the contradictions of capitalism. They do not wish for actual liberation. They only want to distract the masses and distort, warp, and twist on how to actually apply a dialectical and scientific analysis on our communities and why things are the way they are, because the only ones who can liberate ourselves is us. We are the only ones that can actually bring liberation. We are the only ones that can actually achieve cultural, social, and economic self-determination within our communities. No one else can do that. Not LeBron James or any of these comprador white supremacist bastards, And And with what you were saying about U.S. media, I've said before, and I'll say it again: U.S. media is U.S. propaganda. They're one and the same. There is no difference between them. They're designed to embolden, bolster, and strengthen reactionary sentiments, to increase bourgeois thought, and make us exude an individualistic behavior to only look out for ourselves instead of actually looking at the conditions of the community and providing for ourselves, for seeking and having a scientific Marxist and dialectical analysis of why things are the way they are and how everything's interconnected, how the contradictions of capitalism directly cause the conditions within our community, because when it comes to capitalism, it all comes down to the same thing. What will maximize profit? What will make the most money in the fastest and shortest way as efficiently as possible? That's all they want. That's all they care for. It's to maximize profit. It's by making the quality of life. It's by making the cost of living far more expensive while lowering and cutting our hours and wages for the maximization of profit. And what ends up happening, people have to do crime out of a necessity to survive, which causes them to be incarcerated, which causes them to be in prison, and their labor extracted and used for further maximization of profit, especially in non-white communities due to redlining and the racial hierarchy. That's all it is. The only way that we will ever seek liberation is to have a new society with new social relations, a new mode of production, and a new socioeconomic system. And that's what I want to say.
Nah, all power. Nah, but exactly what you said is what we're reading from. That's exactly what UEP Newton was saying about us, like in the community, building institutions that's going to work for us. Every single institution in our community, we understand we didn't put it there. These institutions serve a whole different class of people. And if we want to change our material condition, we have to change the institutions in our community. I mean, like, it can be done. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard going out trying to organize a community, but you have a path. You have a road to take. What you do not do is wait for imperialists, wait for capitalists to come into your community to be able to save you. They're not coming to save you. They're not coming to work for you. But yo, it's 8:50. We've been on here an hour and 50 minutes. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold anybody up any longer. I mean, like I said, we're gonna post this on YouTube, and you can go get to watch it and go back over the reading part, go back over the classes and learn this stuff, because this is what's gonna be on the test. Intercommunalism. Remember that. Intercommunalism, dialectic materialism, dialectic, what is it? Dialectic, what is it? With the religious one, what is it? The dialectic what?
Historical dialectic material. Oh, metaphysical, sorry.
Yeah, metaphysical. Like, you need to understand all those different terms. Like, that's why we're going to these classes, to understand. And then once you graduate, and Yaya said he wanted to help. Yaya, after you graduate, then we're going to move to the next stage of what we do. But all of this is about us coming together to organize in our different communities to work together to be able to sustain ourselves. That's what all of this is for. And once you've gone through these classes and you know what we're doing, then we can move to the next stage. I mean, there's a couple of comrades here that's been coming out to come help us with the food program. That's been coming, like, yo, it's only been a couple of weeks. The comrade has done a couple of things. I'm talking about Rodrigo. He live in a whole different town. He comes down and help us out, and then he goes back home. I mean, we found ways to build these roads, these bridges, one another. And I hope I can know that comrade for the rest of my life, because he seemed like a good brother. I mean, a good comrade, not brother, comrade. But that's it. That's the class for today. Today's class was intercommunalism and dialectic materialism. You'll go back and study it. And I'm going to see everybody next week. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power.
All power to the people.
All power.
Panther love, y'all.
Panther love, comrades. All power to the people.
Love.
Stay focused.
Stay focused.
All power.
All power.